Hey there, everyone. I'm CoachAdessa, and I thank you for checking out another one of my videos. And if this is your first one, I do hope to leave you with something meaningful. This is a space that I love to speak about how to prevent or resolve just about any conflict. And I believe that no matter what kind of relationship you're in, you can prevent toxic relationships just by knowing when and how to respond, not react. Today's True Speaking is talking to those that have experience firsthand with serving families or networking and collaborating with other professionals, especially in the child serving field. So, we're speaking on how to prevent a caregiver or system partner from feeling like you are providing unsolicited advice. While it's unintentional when you're trying to provide insights or service reports, they cannot hear it in any other way unless it's provided a certain way. So it's going to be primarily focused on prevention compared to more details on how to respond in each moment. So the conflict itself is that when an incident happens, it's actually very rare for a caregiver or system partner to directly address the concern. It's more kind of blindsiding boundary crossings for them. It's more commonly done in a passive aggressive way. And unfortunately, this has become one of the leading reasons for system partners or other service providers to become burned out, and they protect themselves in ways that hinder individualization. And yes, I know it's system partner slash service provider. We are one and the same, but in terms of information, there's times that the conflict comes from the networking and collaboration experiences. Without understanding the actual cause of conflict, it's only felt to be confrontational or not accepting of the services or other unspoken emotions that are being faced. It's really a confusion connected to this immediate tension. It's like, where's this tension coming from? How do we resolve this? What is going on? What did I do that you're unhappy with? It's like an immediate reaction to reaction at risk, which causes the service providers to become semi-reactive in their own ways or immediately reactive in their own ways if we do not know how else to respond. I'm so grateful for the system partners and fellow service providers and families that were comfortable speaking with me over the last 3 months. And I wouldn't be providing this message today if it weren't for them. I don't like to speak through opinions. So I like to always know that I'm confirming evidence over opinion and just gathering information to see what's trending and makes the most sense. I am especially grateful for all the caregivers that really hold that open-mindedness, strength, and courage to always initiate conflict relation, like resolutions like immediately to ensure like being on the same page with the same understanding, and then helping us to guarantee that satisfaction in the service that they're receiving just from being able to like talk through those misunderstandings. You should really give yourselves permission to be so proud, and like I can't thank you enough. I know that you might not have had the same experiences necessarily with everyone, where some people might not have been able to engage conflict resolution the same way, but I can speak for myself and my own story with you, and I'm thankful for what our story has looked like, and for any time that we have some confusion, misunderstandings, or things to just work through, we've been able to do so 100%. And that is what has allowed for us to have consistency and has allowed for us to have years of service. So thank you. And now let's work through this particular conflict scenario, the reason of this recording. So like I said earlier, like how to respond is less of the focus here. It's more about prevention. But if you do ever experience a scenario where you feel like you're just getting this immediate tension and passive aggressiveness, evidence of passive aggressiveness even, you want to start with self-reflection. And that self-reflection would be to confirm that your approach has been within what's being recommended today for prevention. If you go through a self-reflection, it's like, that's where I unintentionally misspoke or whatever you take away from this, you would be able to then know how to adapt, adjust, and prevent the passive aggressiveness from continuing. And then in the long run, the conflict is immediately resolved because you'd be preventing it from continuing. For any other misunderstandings, when it's passive aggressive, they're looking for it to be that it just, that particular boundary crossings made clear and you are responding to them, compared to it really being too much needed for the conflict resolution itself. But if you would like to, you're also able to just come back in another time of speaking to them, speaking to it better and saying, I'm sorry, I might not have worded it the way I intended before. And you just give like a round two to what you're trying to express to them. So that's the immediate response options for passive aggressiveness. But in the overall prevention, you want to be sharing your insights nonchalantly in general terms in a semi-formal way. You don't want to share how their child was kept in thought for any connections you have to the insights and information that's being mentioned. You want to leave it in their hands with no expectation of influence. It's just like a food for thought kind of moment. And if they do connect it themselves or voice curiosity, then you respond with those minimal examples of what's been directly observed that applies to their child and what works well from what you've experienced in your service with their child. Otherwise, keep doing your exploration, creativity, and serving to the best of your ability in those moments. It's not a conflict unless they voice a conflict. Otherwise, you don't want to overinform them unless they're actually requesting to have that insight and inclusion. They might not be looking for inclusion, but they might be grateful for what you're showing them you can offer. When providing them with updates, only speak to the praise or concerns that you want to discuss with them and address with them or share with them an adjustment to a plan and confirm their agreement. That's fine. Praise or concerns. But don't share over elaborate direct observation. Don't unleash that unless it's requested or it's in one of those more formal discussions like an annual review or those types of moments. You can keep serving your purpose while being prepared to answer when asked. So that's another reason what I meant earlier. Like just do your service, provide to the best of your ability, but just have preparation. Like if you're ever questioned or there's ever information being gathered from you, you're immediately ready to be like, oh yes, here, let me share this with you. Have the child present anytime you're sharing their voice with others. It helps them to speak for themselves, but also by including them in what you're speaking on their behalf. So if you're giving like this updates of like they requested this support, they're sharing these goals, and you want them to hear it, and you want to be empowering the representation of youth voice and choice, that's great and amazing, but it has to be done in a way where they're not hearing it as assumption-based thoughts, where they're going to be inclined to assume that you're speaking your opinion compared to really being bought into it being their child's voice. If they didn't hear it themselves, they have a lot of reasons to kind of immediately put walls up or doubt that you're actually hearing from their child. They have to witness it firsthand. So even if you're speaking on their behalf, having the child nearby, you'd be doing this check-ins confirmation, saying, right, and confirming that you're speaking for them correctly. You shared you would like support with this. This is what we're practicing, right? Confirming that, then still welcoming the caregiver's agreement, or if this is connected to sharing with a system partner, confirming that the collaboration is in agreement and aligns well with what's already in place and aligns well with family culture. But otherwise, you don't want to over speak for them without it being looked for, hoped for, asked for, because it's a part of what's causing unintentional misunderstandings. When collaborating directly with the system partners, yes, do the same. You don't want to speak to specifics connected to their plans, even if you know that there's something that's coming up that is contributing to their client work and service. That's not your umbrella. It's not your arena unless you're welcome to it. So share your insights without those specific connections unless they initiate the open discussions. Don't be the initiator of open discussions. They're not hindering what you are providing. Because you can still serve to the best of your ability. And if there is by chance anything that does hinder it, I will get to that in just a moment. Keep your own notes ready, though, to answer at any time, if and whenever asked, especially when they're updating their plans, or especially if you're invited to an ISPT meeting or an IEP meeting, those individualized education plans or individualized service planning with the team. If you're a part of those discussions, feel comfortable to then be courageous without doing it as a comparative, but to be speaking on saying what you've observed to work well in your service. So your I statements and the connections to what you're providing. Um, if the concerns are high for the inefficiency of an action plan, meaning that there is plans in place, but the progress, the usage, the outcomes, they're not as positive as they could be, and that there's some things that could benefit from some unique individualization for an at-risk child and youth. Check in with the caregiver on how they feel that the plan is going. Don't make assumptions that they're actually feeling that that's the experience that they're receiving. and then ask for permission to respond with your shared concerns, and then request the permission to share suggestions and advice before providing them. Offer support in the next steps and go from there. So as the discussion goes, you're doing boom, check in. Okay, can I have permission to share my concerns? Okay, can I have permission to share some potential suggestions? Okay. And just if you're interested in any of these next steps, I'd be more than happy to support you, leaving it in their hands to welcome the support, but not pushing for the support, not fighting for the support. If we do all of the above at all times, no matter how much of a bond that we develop with the child and family service partners, like it's very important. Sometimes that's what causes us to unintentionally stray away from everything that was just described because we are closely connected, building rapport, having years of connection and bonding, that you think that you're able to speak from more than just a shared moment that's being requested of, and the curiosity and those things, but you unintentionally start releasing from your own care, your own compassion, your own empathy, and that's where you unintentionally are having boundaries crossed, because while you're a part of the village, you're not a part of the family. And so it's unintentional blurred lines that you didn't intend to happen, but you just have to be mindful that you can be a strong resource, a strong part of the village. You are always a part of the village for as long as they have you there, but you don't want your love for the family, your love for the child, your love for the collaboration you're having with the powerful system partners beside you. You don't want to have the relationships cause you to unintentionally not maintain the boundaries that just exist for a village. You're a village member. You're not a part of that particular system's team. You're a part of their network. You're not a part of that family's family. You're a part of their village, even if the bond you have is family oriented. So just do all of the above at all times. That's why self-reflection is the immediate response to passive aggressiveness. This really is the only way to prevent them from hearing everything as unsolicited advice. If we accidentally stumble from the above, that is what happens, and that is what the cause is. It causes us to speak differently than intended, and it causes us to be heard differently than intended. Where they're not hearing it as I'm not alone in this. They're loving my child too. They're hearing it as like ego driven, or like I said, just the general like I didn't ask for this, or like crossing the lines. I'm a parent, you're a provider, whatever it is in that moment, it's not a connection there. And it's unintentional. And the reason that they would be passive aggressive is because you do have that family oriented connection with them. You have earned it trust. You have earned you've been perceived as highly valuable and credible with them, but it's just not what they were looking for in that moment. So they're not wanting to present a conflict to you because they're wanting to keep your involvement. So that's why they are passive aggressive. It's their own protective factor. If they actually were angry aggressive, they wouldn't be passive about it, and they would just directly say, you're not serving me well. And so it really is. That's what I meant earlier at the start of this, when it's mutually unintentional, it's mutual misunderstandings, and we have to have the responsibility to be more understanding. When they hear that in that way, are misunderstood, they do not serve our purpose for the child's best interest. Um, Hope that this is actually help some of you out. And if any of you feel the need to benefit from direct support, talking about this more or sharing your own stories, as always, you can kind of flow resolving any conflict. So you find yourself feeling like you need to have some support with your own personal professional development, please don't hesitate to reach out. You're likely crossing my path, and this is my calling, my passion, my overall purpose. So there's guaranteed to be support available to you. No matter what it looks like. I don't have just one approach in just one way. So thank you for today, and bye for now.